Hello everyone and welcome to Car Conversations with Chris. You might notice something today that I'm not actually in my car. That's because we have a day off today, day off from the day job, and so I'm actually at home. Everyone else has gone out, so I'm sitting in my easy chair today, and today I'm going to talk to you about a children's book, another one off my daughter's shelf. This is called Come by Chance by Madeline Winch, an Australian writer, and this was written this was published in 1988, so it's pretty old now. That was 1988. I was 9. Wow, wonder if you can guess how old I am now. So that's a long time ago, and basically in this story, tell you about the book and then I'll tell you what I think of it. It's a very simple story. It's about a lady called Bertha, and she goes off walking. She's on her own. You get the impression that she's a bit of a loner. She likes her own company, and she goes off into the fields. You can see right early on she goes off into the fields, and she comes across an abandoned house, and she decides to restore it. And so she fixes the house up. There's a double page of her basically mending and fixing everything. I guess she's allowed to just kind of, move into a random house she finds. We won't worry about the legalities of it all. But anyway, she gets it all nice and cozy and warm, and then she sat there by the fire one night, and it starts to rain. And then she gets a knock on the door, and in come the animals, and she gets the first one in as a cow. There he is. And then there's a cat comes in, and then of course you end up with all sorts of animals coming in, and here they come. There's lots and lots of animals, and the door's teeming with people, new guys that want to come in and keep out of the cold. And then so eventually she has an entire room filled with animals, and there's the usual suspects, the cats and dogs, and then there's a kangaroo in there, and an emu, and a parrot. I don't know if that's what kind of parrot that is, but there's a fox and a pig, and there's all sorts of animals in there. And then of course they start to it's snowing and it's wintry and cold, and they start to dance. They sort of, Bertha plays her flute, and they all dance. And then you can see here there's more animals coming in, and the house is filled up. And then they settle in through the winter, and then of course the spring comes. And when the spring comes, it's a double-edged sword, because even though it's all flowery and happy, all her friends are about to leave, and so Bertha waves them all goodbye, wishes them well, wishes them come back next winter, and she's all alone as she was at the beginning. But Bertha's kind of changed now, because where before she seemed quite content in her own company, when she was building the house, you can see that she's right, go back to the beginning, she's got her house set up, she's got a smile on her face. Now she's all on her own, and she's looking all kind of sad and despondent. But luckily the kitty decides to stay, so that's okay, and that's the end. And it's a very straightforward story. The language is very simple. There's lots of nice adjectives for kids to learn. They're wet, trembling, and everyone snuggled up. It's like, it's a very simple story, but it does sort of it has good values for children, and sharing sharing what you have with others that have less fortunate than you, I suppose you could say. It's almost got like a kind of religious undertone, really. Welcoming in those that are out in the cold, and then everyone together is stronger and happier, And then of course the inevitable is that, you know, that you could say it's the inevitable thing where they all have to part at the end. But you know, like the main character Bertha, as I mentioned, by the end of the story, she's changed. She appreciates the value of her new friends, and she misses them. You know, and she wants them to come back. You know, but it's a very what can I say about the artwork? It's a very beautifully drawn book. You know, the detail is fantastic. I don't know if you can see the picture of the house there. You know, the detail in the drawing is just unbelievable. It's really nice. I guess it's set in Australia, but I mean this isn't like my image of Australia is Ayers Rock. This is a little bit more kind of you know, sort of not, you know, not quite as you know, wild as that. A little bit more like England, really. You know, and not being much of not knowing much about Australia, you know, but you know, and you know, the drawing's really nice. I don't know if that's watercolor or maybe pencil crayon, maybe. I guess, you know, not, I'm a writer, not an artist, but it's very well done. I mean, the people, the expressions of the characters are very nice, and the detail, like, you know, look at the detail of the cat. You know, they're really nice, warm pictures, and you really get a sense of the cold of the and the storm. You know, like, I mean, the storm in this picture is extremely dramatic. You know, it's a very nice, colourful book, and for children, it's fun. Me and my daughter enjoyed, you know, naming the animals and you know, picking out the ones that you can't see so clearly. You know, and the story is it says at the back there's a little kind of postscript about the story, and she had some friends who lived in a, you know, like a rural village or something, and she based it on them, and there's a little, she's got to put a picture in there of them as a kind of tribute, you know. And so you know, it's a really nice book, and it's not, it's got plenty to it, but it's not too deep that it's gonna, you know, have any serious issues for children. They, you know, it's easy to understand, you know, easy to follow, and no, I think this is a great book, really nice book. I believe it's a little bit of a classic. You know, I'm not, you know, I think my wife bought it in Australia a few years ago, and she used to use it for English teaching, actually, which is a good idea because there's lots of opportunities to, you know, have the students, you know, name the animals and things like that without the story being too complicated. You know, sometimes, you know, as an English teacher myself, sometimes when you do a story in class, it goes straight over the kids' heads. They haven't got a clue what you're talking about, but it's a very simple story, easy to follow. And so, yes, I recommend this book. I think it's a beautiful book, really nice story, very heartwarming story. And if you're looking for a book for your child, I think it would probably work age 3, 4, 5. I think me and my daughter read it most regularly. Still occasionally pick it up now. She can pretty much read it herself now. So yes, I recommend this book, Come by Chance by Madeline Winch. It's a good book. And that's all for today. See you again soon, perhaps from my car, maybe even from my chair. Who knows? Thanks.